If you want to move from an entry-level position to a management position, you have to understand something. You're not promoted just because you do your job well. You're promoted for demonstrating you can handle a different level entirely. And that comes through a ton of different things that you have to think about differently. If you've been wondering what it takes to get you to the next level, then you've come to the right place. I've spent 25 years in business, 12 of those years climbing the traditional corporate ladder and working myself from entry-level analyst all the way to partnership. And for the last decade, helping people break through barriers, getting that first management role and all the way to that executive C-suite. So we're gonna talk about how to move from entry-level to management today, because this season of In Confidence, it's all about real problems you're navigating and breaking them down into practical solutions you can actually use. Welcome to In Confidence, where what we share in confidence helps us grow in confidence. This season is one of my favorite things to talk about, which is problem solution. And we sent out a survey to all of you asking you what problems you want us to solve this season. And in the top 5 consistently over and over again was, how do I move from an entry-level role to a management position? And so we're gonna spend time today providing you 5 shifts that you can make that take you from entry level to management. Many people in the write-in portion of our survey said, I'm doing well, I'm working hard, but how do I actually move into management? And I want you to reframe this question entirely. Promotions are not magical. They're not mysterious. They're not personal. They are structural. And most people treat promotions like their recognition. I like to think about promotions as readiness and business fit. So when you think about promotions in that way and you think about getting to a management position, I want you to think about that important shift. It's hard to talk about this. This is why it's a problem in our lives, because oftentimes the pathway isn't clear. There are some companies, like I was in a professional services and a consulting business, and there is clarity around the review process, the roles, what you have to demonstrate. I would say most companies, it's not always clear what the promotion criteria are. And I don't think it's always clear that there's an open management role available. I think we also assume that good work equals next level. And that's not always the case in terms of how you think about this. Also, some teams or companies don't have a clear succession plan. We're often told to work hard, be humble, and someone will notice. But management is not about being noticed. It's about demonstrating expanded capacity, meeting the opportunity and business needs. So I'm going to give you today 5 shifts to think about if you're navigating that path of being in an entry-level role and wanting to make it to management. Here are the 5 shifts. Shift 1. Stop guessing and start asking. This is really important. I think we all think we're giving out those subtle cues around, I'm ready for a promotion, I'm ready to be part of management. I think it's really important to ask directly. So here's the script I want to give you today. Based on where I am now, what would I need to demonstrate for you to feel confident in promoting me? Or how far am I from the next level? I really love working here. I'd love to be in management. I want to emulate all of you who I've learned from. What would it take to get there? Can you give me some clarity so I can start working on those things? This does a few things. It clarifies your intention. It gets you away from magical thinking into actually getting a clear pathway. And it turns your career into a development plan. I think what we're all yearning for is a plan. We get that plan by asking. And if there's no formal pathway, let's just assume it's not very clear. I think you can actually say, hey, to take myself to the next level, what does excellence look like? Now you're co-creating criteria, because maybe you're entry level at this company and there isn't a management role available to you, But what you might do is take this experience and apply for a manager role somewhere else. So you can say you've demonstrated a number of the skills required. You might be making a move to another company where you can get promoted to that level. So shift 1 of the 5 shifts I want you to make is stop guessing, start asking. The second shift I want you to make as you think about entry level to management is, how do I move from execution to ownership? A lot of times when we're in an entry level job, we complete tasks and we might complete them very well. A manager takes ownership and starts to solve problems before they escalate. So it's not about finishing my to-do list. It's about thinking one step ahead, saying, what else needs to go on the to-do list? What else is happening across my work stream, my team, that I need to start thinking ahead? So don't just finish the PowerPoint presentation or the Canva presentation. Ask, hey, what decision is this driving? And should I maybe talk about a few slides that need to be added or what the next presentation should look like? Don't just execute the project, improve the process. Perhaps in the process of finishing a task, you say, hey, there's 2 or 3 things that we could have done differently that would have made it even better. Should we consider that for next time? Or volunteer to run something kind of messy. And if you make mistakes along the way, use that as an opportunity for growth and feedback and learning. When you start managing complexity, it allows you to, in the future, manage people and work streams. So start managing more complexity beyond executing your tasks. It might mean making recommendations on how things are done in terms of creating systems, onboarding new people. I love it when people throw up their hand to say, hey, I'd love to onboard someone on our team. Should I take them out to lunch? Is there anything you'd like me to do? And maybe even offer peer support. I think we start seeing people as managers and leaders when we see them as someone that their peers go to for help or for advice or for counsel. So in my opinion, I think management and leadership starts even before you've got that title. So that's the second shift I want you to think about, from execution to ownership. Shift 3, and this one is something that just takes a little bit of effort. Make your manager's job easier. And I know that sounds a little bit sort of simple, but it's actually starts making you indispensable. So what are the problems you're thinking about that I don't see yet? You could ask that to your manager. And when you can help a manager reduce their cognitive load and anticipate needs, bring options, not just questions, I think this is really a big one. Oftentimes, more junior people will ask me a question. I think those that are ready for that next leadership level say, hey, I have a question and I have 3 options I want to tee up for you to consider. I love that because it's not putting me on the spot to always have the answer. And when you can propose next steps. So that's really showing management behavior at an earlier stage when you can make your manager's job easier and you can take things off their plate, or you can tee up options before you ask the question. The 4th shift I want you to think about is, how do you become mentorable? So I always say, you don't pick your mentor, the mentor chooses you. So make yourself mentorable. And I think it's really important to oftentimes ask for feedback, make sure you're implementing it visibly, and circle back and say, here's what's changed. So the joke when I was an analyst in consulting was, I had a 1 things notebook. I would always ask people, hey, what's one thing I could do better? I think people are really bad at asking for, giving, and receiving feedback. So, sometimes you're like, could I have some feedback? And the person's like, you're doing fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's like being in a store and saying, do you need help? No, I'm just browsing. So I would often say, hey, what's one thing I could be doing better? Because everybody has one thing for you. And when that person would give me that one thing, I would say, how do you do that one thing? What do you observe? And I would always circle back to that person a few weeks later and say, hey, I've been working on that one thing. And oftentimes the person would be like, I've noticed. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. And I'd say, what's the next thing that I should be working on? And I'd cross it off on the list. That made me very promotable because people said, Lisa's willing to learn and she's willing to be coached by me. I think that's really an important thing is you want to have a lot of people have fingerprints on your journey as you get promoted. So get as many people invested in you. So tap into resources, ask about training, ask about extra things you could be doing, make yourself mentorable. Shift 5 in terms of what you could be doing is find other places where you can stretch and take risks. What I mean by that is maybe you're not at a management level where you work now, but perhaps in your personal life, there's a place you could take on a management role where you could take risks. So one of my good friends, before she got promoted in finance, she became the head of her homeowners association. She became the president of our alumni club in our city. And she used those places as areas where she could take risks, stretch, learn how to manage people and manage complex work streams in a risk-free environment. As the president of her homeowners association, she could actually figure out what it means to organize people, to manage process, to delegate tasks. I think you want to have this shift around at work isn't the only place that I can learn management skills. What are all those places that I can do that? Join a club, take on a management role there. So shift 5 for me is where else in your life are you demonstrating leadership skills or at least practicing them risk-free? All of this to add up to entry level to management. I think each one of these shifts can make a difference. I do want to be honest though, if there's no succession plan at your company, let's say you are interested in management, but there's no management roles opening up anytime soon, but you feel you're ready, I want you to think, okay, what skills should I build so I can be competitive elsewhere? Because that clarity reduces your resentment. And I think you want to be able to package all of your skills up and your references and all those experiences in a way that creates a management opportunity somewhere else. In closing, I'm going to give you your power move for the week. Because each episode of this season, I want you to have a clear takeaway, something you can practice right away. Your power move is to schedule a 15 to 30-minute development conversation with your boss. And in that conversation, I want you to be very clear. I love working here. I would love to start talking to you about what it would take to be in management, to take on more of a leadership role here. What gaps do you see in what I'm doing? What things should I be trying and learning? In your experience, what is a realistic timeline to getting promoted? And if you don't think there's an opportunity here, that's okay. I just want to keep growing and developing my skills. Then I want you to take that and translate it into a 3-month and a 6-month plan. Not someday, but now. And so your power move, if you're in this position where you're in an entry-level role, you want to be in management, I want you to schedule that conversation with your boss, 15 to 30 minutes, just about your development. In closing, my GRAVITAS shout out this week, because the other thing we've added to this season is a shout out. I want to build something into the season that matters to me because growth deserves to be seen, ownership deserves to be named, and the people doing the work deserve to be celebrated. So I'm going to recognize someone who's out there living GRAVITAS every day. So today's shout out goes to Sapir Rabinowitz. Hopefully, Sapir, I've said your name correctly. If I didn't, please correct me on LinkedIn, get to me. She wrote me a message and we were talking about a podcast episode that meant something to her. I mentioned to her that this season was all about solving problems. And she said, that sounds like an exciting set of things for the new season. Off the cuff, I think it'd be great to delve into how to level up from junior positions at work to senior positions, how to position yourself to become a leader, and to tackle imposter syndrome to move forward. I'll have a think and let you know if there's anything else. So Sapir, I hope today's episode got you a little bit of insight into how to think about this issue. More importantly, I'm giving you the shout out of the week because you helped shape the impact of this season. Because you asked the question, we were able to add it to this season's schedule, and your question gets to amplify and make a difference in lots of people's lives. All right, I hope you loved this episode of In Confidence. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you loved it, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe so you never miss a moment of inspiration. Leave a review because your positive review means that more people get to benefit from the work we're doing. And until next time, in the words of my 9-year-old self, I see you, I value you, and I believe in you. This is In Confidence.